Hello again, everybody. I'm Snapper Lancaster, welcoming you to another edition of the Central Alabama High School Sports Show. Well, folks, we got a special show lined up for you tonight. Matter of fact, you know, last week we crowned 2 state champions in basketball from right here in the Birmingham area. We're going to be visiting with one of those coaches tonight and some of his outstanding athletes, but you're going to have to stick around to see who it is. And the second guest we've got, not only we're going to be talking about the high school basketball finals winners and losers, but we've got Josh Bean of AL.com, the outstanding high school sports writer, who will be talking about not only what happened down at the Civic Center or Legacy Arena last week, but also what's going to be happening in the spring sports, because as we talked about before, our spring season is the busiest time of the year. We've got more sports in action: baseball, softball, you got soccer, you got boys and girls tennis, boys and girls golf, outdoor track. So it's just a really busy time of the year. And as usual, there are championships to be won in those sports, and a lot of them are won right here in the Birmingham area. We got outstanding baseball programs, we got outstanding golf teams and track teams, and there's a lot of championships won here from the Birmingham area in the springtime of the year. But once again tonight on the show, like I said, we'll be visiting with one of the championship coaches and some of his outstanding athletes as they won at Legacy Arena. And also we've had a couple of teams that win. Hopefully we'll have the other team on in the next couple of weeks or so to recognize their championship. And once again, folks, always remember, when you get a chance, frequent our sponsors, because if we didn't have them, we wouldn't be able to bring all the coaches and kids and recognize them to you. So once again, sit back, get ready to enjoy a great evening of guests and some outstanding coaches and student athletes. We'll take a quick break. When we get back, guest number one. Don't you go away.
The community features a world-class resort and spa, the amazing Robert Trent Jones Trail Golf Course, miles of historic trails, and the whole family loves the pool at Ross Park. No, are we gonna have to watch your vacation slides all night?
This was supposed to be a party.
Well, this isn't my vacation. I live here.
Ooh.
The next time you need electrical work, whether it be commercial or residential, you need to call Huffman Electrical Contractors. A company that's been in business for over 35 years. They've served clients not only locally in the Birmingham area and all over the state, but have clients outside the state of Alabama as well. Whether it's a new building or remodeling an older building or home, they can handle the job for you. Once again, that's Huffman Electrical Contractors. The number to call is 205-661-5005. That's 205-661-5005. Where at Huffman Electrical Contractors, a satisfied customer is always their #1 objective.
Take your taste to a different place. It's the taste of hamburger heaven. A taste of heaven is always best. Now you know that you're blessed. Give your taste a whole new spin. Bring your friends and come on in. Take your taste to a different place. It's the taste of hamburger heaven.
And folks, welcome back. And as you can tell, my first guest is sitting here alongside me, and he's probably feeling a little bit different today than the other times we've had on our show, because now we're talking about a championship coach. Of course, we're talking about Mike Chase right now of the Spain Park Jags, the Lady Jags, that is. And Coach, before we get started into the conversation, for people that might be watching you for the first time, tell us a little bit about your background and what has led you to that position there at Spain Park.
This is my 22nd year of being a girls basketball coach. I started in Florida and then came to Birmingham 20 years ago. So I've been in the Birmingham area for 20 years coaching girls basketball, 9 years at Spain Park. Absolutely love it there. Great facilities, great athletes, great students, great teachers, great administrators. You know, it's right where I want to be.
Well, I was going to say, it's sort of just like you found your home, that maybe, unless who knows what lies down the road, you might want to end your career there one day.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I have a 8th grade daughter and a 6th grade son, and you know, when they finish up, I'll be towards the end of at least maybe my teaching career, and then I might take your job.
Well, that could happen. You know, stranger things have happened. But Mike and you and I were talking a little bit about this off the air, and it's a question I really enjoy coaches when they're going through for the first time what you've just experienced, and that's winning your first championship, because I know that's what you and your coaches and your athletes, that's your goal every year. But realistically, we know unless you're awfully lucky to be in the right place at the right time with a lot of talented athletes instead of just a few, it maybe won't happen, if ever in your life, not many more times than once. But having said that, and you've been in the business and coaching a long time now, you get that first championship. So you've reached that pinnacle. How does it feel? And can you explain the joy and gratification and feeling of achievement that's come with this?
Yeah, you know, I think this is the fourth trip to the finals and first time to win it. First time I went was in 2004, and I was relatively young coaching in my career. Not that I wouldn't have enjoyed winning it then, but I think, you know, 22 years of working at this craft, you know, it just, you know, it makes me appreciate it a lot more, having to kind of grind through a lot of years. I mean, but it's a great experience.
Well, you know, and the one thing you and I both touched on just a few moments ago talking about this off the air was the fact that a championship is something that a lot of coaches, a lot of them, never experience. But it's one that you hope you will experience in your lifetime at least once, because of all the work and with a love and dedication that you coaches have for it. And as we get back to this year's team in particular for you, going into this season, how high were your expectations on this bunch? Because I know you had a lot. You had some outstanding senior leadership. You had some great players in the senior class as well as the junior and sophomore. So going into this year, and I had some other success, like you said, just never reached the pinnacle. What did you think about this year's team?
Well, you know, to answer your question, we lost in the finals last year in overtime to Hoover, and we had all 5 of our starters back. And so, I mean, expectations were high. We really loaded up our schedule. We played unbelievable competition all year long. You know, we expected to be back in the finals. You know, we expected to make a run at the championship, and you know, sometimes that doesn't always happen. Right. But you know, everything fell into place for us, and you know, that's the way it worked out.
Well, and I tell you something else that I wondered too, because you just touched on it, is the fact that you schedule tougher competition, and I know that there's a reason for that, and evidently it worked in your case too, that you wanted to challenge the girls. The more they get challenged in the regular season, hopefully the better it is going to be for them, because I'm sure you're like all other coaches. Every coach that I've talked to, and no matter what sport it is, you want your kids to peak at playoff time. Talk about that, and you didn't have many peaks and valleys this year? No, we were pretty consistent all year. You know, the thing about scheduling tough teams, you know, it's really kind of scheduling my friends. You know, usually the guys and the girls who have the best teams and the best programs are people who've been doing it for quite a while. You know, so we generally play each other year in and year out. Tim Miller at Hazel Green, you know, Crystal Johnson over at Hoover. Mm-hmm. You know, guys and girls like that, you know, who've been in the business for a while, you know, traditionally have year in and year out the best teams. And so, you know, we just play each other, and you know, we all try to get better and then peak at the end of the season. Well, now this year, I guess, were you fairly lucky with, say, the injury bug? No major injuries during the year?
Yeah, one of the girls that you're gonna meet, Kristen Rushing, she tore ACL last year, and we missed her in the playoffs. She actually re-tore her ACL partially right towards the end of the season, and taped it up, braced it up, and played the rest of the season with the partially torn ACL, just to show how much guts she has and how much her senior season meant for her. So, you know, it was pretty inspiring. You know, she was out there playing on about one and a half legs and diving on the floor and making things happen for us. So.
Well, I tell you what, you love to celebrate a championship, but let's look into next year. I want you to enjoy, you know, this off season, enjoy that championship. But I always like to say, well, Coach, coming off of a championship team, do you look like you're going to be, and I think personally you will be, in pretty good shape from looking at your roster? It doesn't look like it's loaded with seniors.
Yeah, I'll have 3 starters coming back, and you know, just even the young kids. I have 2 freshmen that were up on varsity that got great minutes, and I even dressed some. I got 2 8th graders, one of them my daughter, and they came up and contributed during the course of the season. And so, you know, I don't feel like, you know, obviously there's going to be new challenges because every year and every team has to build their own new identity. But I think with what we've accomplished this year and the leadership that the new senior group is going to provide, I think we're, you know, I'm excited about next year. There's no doubt about it.
I was going to say, if it doesn't sound like it's one of those situations where, gosh, we got to reload.
No.
And that's always good. And I think in a perfect world, in a coaching world, that's what you would hope. No matter what kind of team you just finish the season with, the next year it's not a completely rebuilding year. You just sort of keep the girls going in the direction that you want them in, because every coach has his own theory about how he wants the makeup of his team, what he expects out of them and everything. And if it's almost like if you can keep it sort of even keel all the way through, it helps not only you, but the girls also.
Absolutely.
Well, Coach, I guarantee you, one, it's good to see you again. Secondly, it's even better this time because
no doubt.
That championship, very sweet. Maybe it's the first of quite a few to come. I wouldn't want to jinx you in any way, because I know you put good talent with good coaching, and I consider you a very good coach, that good things usually happen. And like you said, you've made the playoffs. Y'all made some noise in the past. No reason why that shouldn't happen in the future.
Absolutely.
But once again, congratulations on that first championship, and may there be more down the road.
Thank you.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be visiting with some of the young athletes that were the reason they won the state championship. Don't you go away. We'll be right back. The next time you need electrical work, whether it be commercial or residential, you need to call Huffman Electrical Contractors, a company that's been in business for over 35 years. They've served clients not only locally in the Birmingham area and all over the state, but have clients outside the state of Alabama as well. Whether it's a new building or remodeling an older building or home, they can handle the job for you. Once again, that's Huffman Electrical Contractors. The number to call is 205-661-5005. That's 205-661-5005. Where at Huffman Electrical Contractors, a satisfied customer is always their #1 objective.
At Andrew Sports Medicine, we partner with our patients, trying to help them overcome the obstacles that keep them from achieving their goals.
This practice aggressively pursues victory over injury, over pain, over limitation, over anything that's going to keep you from being the best you can be.
It starts with our non-surgical physicians who are trained in sports medicine and orthopedic injuries. We have specialists in sports medicine with shoulders, elbows, and knees. We have hip specialists that do only hip surgery, including arthroscopy, minimally invasive resurfacing, and total hip replacement if needed. We have joint replacement surgeons. We have spine surgeons. We have surgeons that specialize in foot and ankle surgery and in hand surgery. So just about all the specialties of orthopedics are covered at Andrew Sports Medicine.
What makes the great surgeons great is their volume of experience at making decisions, whether that's intraoperative decisions, post-operative decisions, pre-operative decisions, the decision to operate on somebody or not operate on them. And so our volume here breeds good decision making that gives us an edge in terms of making decisions for our patients, which ultimately is a lot of times the difference between success and failure. The teams, the players, the parents have confidence in us because they know we're going to communicate with them, we're going to create a plan unique to that athlete or that person, and we're going to get them back to their thing, and as quickly and as safely as we can.
At Injury Sports Medicine, our mission is to partner with our patients and to help them succeed and achieve victory. Whether you're a weekend warrior, a grandparent with a shoulder problem, or a professional athlete, you get the same care, the same high-level technology, the same aggressiveness that we would in a professional athlete, and we treat everyone the same way. None of us like to lose. We're all very competitive, and we're not going to lose against their illness or their injury.
The community features a world-class resort and spa, the amazing Robert Trent Jones Trail Golf Course, miles of historic trails, and the whole family loves the pool at Ross Park. Now, are we gonna have to watch your vacation slides all night?
This was supposed to be a party.
Well, this isn't my vacation. I live here.
Ooh.
And folks, welcome back. As you can tell, I've got about half the basketball team sitting next to me here and standing, and we're awfully glad to see these girls state champions. You can't say that about everybody, but we can in Class 7A, and of course we're talking about the Spain Park Jags, the Lady Jags. Sitting closest to me, Claire Holt, senior guard, right? Next to her, Sarah Ashley Barker, sophomore guard. And then Barrett Herring, senior. And Barrett, you're forward, right?
Yes, sir. And
Kristen Russian, senior forward, okay? And Ariel Parks, junior guard. And finally, Bailey Bowers, a junior guard. Well, girls, going into this season, I think the coach expected y'all to have a pretty good year, but we didn't realize you was going to take the whole enchilada. So how does it feel to be state champions? And we'll start with you, Claire. Being a senior, been close, but now you've got it.
Yeah, you know, we after last year losing by 3 in overtime, it became a main focus for us to win the state championship. That was the #1 goal. When last year we had a bunch of sub goals like win area and go to the regionals. But this year was specifically about winning the state championship, and obviously it being my senior year, it was really satisfying to see all of that work we put in from starting in middle school, working with Coach Chase when I first met him, all the way up until now to win our first state championship, his first state championship. It feels awesome.
Well, I'm sure it does. And continuing that thought, Sarah Ashley, I know one thing athletes, whether it be male or female athletes, one of the most important aspects of your team and how you do or do not do is team chemistry. Chemistry is very important because if you have great chemistry, it makes you not only better as a teammate, but better as a person yourself. Talk about the chemistry aspect of your team and how together this group has been.
Yes, sir, there's no doubt. We have great chemistry. You know, all of us, we're all best friends. We don't fight. We don't argue on the court. We all want to, you know, we're selfless players. And so, and when you have selfless players, that really brings your team together. And since we're all best friends, we have a bond. We're basically sisters. And that really has, you know, turned out onto the court to where we can play together really good.
Well, I know, Barrett, you being a senior as well, it had to leave a bittersweet taste in your mouth coming in second last year. So how much of a focus was that for you this year? You personally, what did you expect out not only yourself, but then your teammates as well?
Well, I knew that we were all like so close. So right after the season ended, like our main focus was getting back to that exact point. So we all knew that we had to get better. But me personally, I knew that I had to work on my offensive game as well as my defensive game. So just like all around getting better because we just lost by a little bit. So just one little extra thing that I'm good at could set us over the edge. So.
Well, good. And Kristen, I know you being a senior too, did it surprise you how well this team played this year, or did you sort of expect it coming off the season you had last year?
I expected it. We played so well last year, and we just kind of grew as a team with this coming year. Like, we just all each had something to focus on and improve, and it just came naturally that we were going to win.
Well, good. Well, it definitely did that. Ariel, being a guard, what is it about your position do you enjoy the most? Is it being maybe partly playmaker, shooter? What? Talk about your game.
Okay, offense is good, but defense is my main focus. I love to score points, but when you are able to stop a defender from scoring as much as they usually would to make their team win, if you can limit them, that will help our team tremendously.
Well, one thing about that, and you're talking about defense, the better defense you play, the less offensive opportunities that opponent has.
Yes.
So all of a sudden, advantage you, right?
Yes.
Well, did it surprise you how well? Because I know, did you play on the team last year
I did.
as well? Your focus too probably was that's a bitter taste to
Yes.
leave in your mouth. So was your focus to get back to that championship game again this year?
Yes, sir. It was. Yeah, last year after losing that game, all I could think about was coming back next year. In preseason conditioning, our motivation was to push so we can come back again to fix what we didn't win. So may come back and win for the championship game.
And Bailey, how about you now? You being a guard as well, and I'll just ask it this way: do you enjoy offense or defensive part of your game?
Like part of my game, or like which one do I like to do better? Like,
Yeah, which one do you like?
I mean, I'm not a big scorer, but I like offense. I like when I shoot it and you flick the wrist and you're like, man, that's wet. And that is my favorite part.
Well, it's whatever,
And it makes everybody cheer.
Yeah, well,
Everybody's like, that's the one that made it. I love shooting.
well, yeah, I loved it too. And I did. Hated missing. And I'd shoot till I finally hit one. Now, we don't know if we're going to do that or not. All right, girls, I know one thing. One, your success is in two things. One, you're successful in the classroom, because if you don't qualify in the classroom, you never make it to the basketball court, right? All right, and you're successful because I know Coach, he's a killer. He'll work you hard, but to get the best out of you. So that means you spend a lot of time in the classroom work and on the basketball floor work. Now, what I want to know, and we'll start with you, Claire, what does Claire Hope do to relax and unwind from all that pressure of being so good on the court and in the classroom?
There's not a lot of time outside of that. But yeah, I like to, me and like we said, we're all best friends. We hang out together outside of basketball all the time. We like to go places. We like to go downtown. We like to go to concerts, travel different places, stuff like that. Okay. Well,
Sarah Ashley, what about you?
Yeah, like she said, we all hang out together, and we never really, we have free time, but I like to go hang out with my friends like outside of basketball, just so that I'm still talking to them and that kind of stuff. And then, I like to go eat with them, go to the movies.
Yeah, you sort of want to balance your life, don't you? Okay. How about you, Barrett?
Honestly, same. Like I just hang out with my friends when I'm not at basketball. But like they said, like they are my friends too. So I'm just always hanging out with them pretty much.
Okay, Kristen.
Same thing.
Same thing. Well, somebody better come up with something different, because I'm gonna surprise all of you in a minute. But so it's hanging out, and the camaraderie you have is not only teammates but friends off the court, right? Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. Ariel, how about you?
I love the Netflix. I like to find a good show I can binge in my free time.
Hey, good. And then nothing against your friends. Let's just catch me a good flick, right?
Yes.
Okay, how about you, baby?
I like to hang out with my friends. I usually have a lot of homework on weeknights and Sunday nights, so I pretty much get 1.5 days on the weekend. And I like to go out to eat and hang out with my family and hang out with my basketball team.
And let me tell you, I've got 6 outstanding young ladies here. And the one thing none of you said that I would have been sure at least one of you would, shopping. Women and shopping. Y'all love to shop, right?
We just went to the mall before we came here.
Oh, that makes me feel like I just got a base hit. Well, I tell you what, girls, I know your expectations were high. this year, and there's a good reason for that. One, Coach and I talked about it. You were very successful last year, had a lot of returning starters and experienced players. So congratulations, you have sort of reached the summit, that first championship for the coach and for you girls. And want you to know that next year, that for all you girls that's coming back, there's a bullseye on your back. So people are going to make sure you don't do it again next year. But now y'all's job is to say, hey, we're good enough, we're going to repeat. Hope that happens. Now the seniors, that's off to college for the next step for y'all. Last question I've got, and girls, I've enjoyed the few minutes we've had to spend together. And Claire, we'll start with you. To this point in your young life, who's been the most inspirational person or persons?
I think the most inspirational person, oh, I hate to say it, Coach Chase.
Oh my goodness.
Well, listen now.
You know what? You've got politician written all over you, but I understand that. I understand.
Well, I just say him because, you know, we can never say, you know, well, Coach couldn't come out here and run these drills with us. He doesn't know how hard it actually is, because he does. Right. And he will even put on his basketball shoes at practice and come out there with us. He runs these ultra marathons, and we're out there complaining about running our 1 minute mile. We have to make a certain time and all of this stuff. He can do what he says he's going to do.
Okay. How about you?
I'll probably say my mom, just because she, you know, she's taught me everything as up to where I am now, and you know, she's just a great woman, and I look up to her every single day, and you know, she teaches me so many life lessons.
Good for you. Okay. Barry?
I would say my parents as well. They've always believed in me ever since I was little. And just to know, like, just have someone to always believe in you whenever, like, you're down or you feel defeated, like, just have someone to go to is definitely my parents.
Okay. Kristen?
Hands down, my dad. He's just been through so much, and I always just admire, like, how he's just able to pick right back up, and he just faces adversity so well, and it teaches me how, like, when life doesn't go my way, I gotta figure out to take it a new way. I just like that.
Okay, good for you. Aria?
My parents, they do a lot for me, and they work very hard for me to be able to even play basketball. And I just really appreciate how much the extent that they would go to just for me to have fun and play and do what I want to do.
Good for you, Bailey.
Probably my dad. He's just like always kind of pushed me and made me go out and do stuff when I don't want to. And like also too, like Coach Chase, like there's so many things, like when I look back, I'm gonna be like, oh my God, like he's the reason I got to that point.
Well, good for you. Girls, once again, congratulations. That's a nice ring, state champions, right? And girls that are coming back next year, good luck. I know maybe we'll sit here and do this again. The coach would enjoy it, and I'm sure you would too. But awfully great for y'all to win this championship. And once again, nice to meet you. Folks, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, another guest. Don't you go away. We'll be right back.
The community features a world-class resort and spa, the amazing Robert Trent Jones Trail Golf Course, miles of historic trails, and the whole family loves the pool at Ross Park. Now, are we gonna have to watch your vacation slides all night?
This was supposed to be a party.
Well, this isn't my vacation. I live here.
Ooh.
And this will be your premium right here.
Sorry to interrupt. I just want to say, I combined home and auto with State Farm.
Saved $760.
Love this guy.
Okay, does it bother anybody else that the mime is talking? Freaky.
Bundle home and auto, and you could save $760.
That's 760 very good reasons to call Alan Gurdeau in Trussville today.
And folks, welcome back. And as you can tell, I got a new guest sitting with me. And of course, he's maybe a new guest to somebody that's never seen him before, but we've had him on a few times here. And of course, we're talking about Josh Bean, outstanding high school beat writer on AL.com. And Josh, first of all, good to see you again.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
I saw you last week down at the Civic Center where you were very busy.
Yes.
You're a little more busy than me. I was lucky enough to go pick and choose a little bit and around another schedule, but we just come off the basketball championships, and of course we had, generally when we talk about basketball championships here in Birmingham, we're talking about 5, 6, and 7A.
Right.
And we've had a couple of schools, midfield, I think, from what 4A. But basically, we had 2 big champions, and they both came out of 7A. And of course, one, we just had the guest, Spain Park with Coach Mike Chase and then some of his athletes. And then, of course, the other one was in boys basketball. Of course, Bucky McMillan, Mountain Brook, where they play a bucky ball pretty doggone good.
Yeah, I mean, that Mountain Brook team, that program, I mean, clearly we're in the dynasty stage now. You know, 4 championships in the last 6 seasons. One of the years that they didn't win it, they played in the championship game, so that's 5 championship game appearances. And they, you know, what they do so well. Bucky wants them to play that up-tempo kind of a game. You know, they really only shoot layups and threes. And then, of course, certainly we saw it last year. We saw it again this year. Trenton Watford is such a transcendent player. You know, a 6'9" guard who can do a lot of different things on the floor. We saw that in the championship game. We saw it in the semifinals. He played great down the stretch. So you take that system that was already having so much success, and then you add the Mr. Basketball front runner this season to that with Trenton Watford, and that was they were just a team that was really hard to stop. We saw that in the semifinals and in the championship game. They won both those games going away.
And the thing about it, and this is what's impressed me since watching Mountain Brook the last few years under Coach McMillan, is they are relentless. You understand being relentless on defense a little bit, but they're relentless on both ends of the court.
They do. They put so much pressure on the other team, and really that's one of the most effective things they do, right? They make you play their game. So you might want to slow it down. You might want to pick and choose some different things you want to do in the game, but they impose their will on you and make you play the way they want to play. And they are so good at that. They understand what they want to do. You know, I thought this year that Paul Stramiglia, their point guard, was, I mean, he really made them go. He's not a guy that was going to go out there and score 30 or 40 points, but he just controlled the tempo of what they wanted to do. And it seems like, you know, he's such an extension of Coach McMillan, and being able to do that is so important. And then, of course, like I said, Trenton Watford, he's such a difficult matchup for anybody. I mean, you know, he's generally considered one of the top 15 or 20 players in the country. In next year's signing class, I mean, I think we all expect that he's going to be an NBA player. It's a matter of when, not if he's going to be an NBA player. So I was really impressed with that team all down the stretch.
Well, I know the one thing you talk about, both ends of the floor is what really impresses me. Their defense gives them so many more offensive opportunities.
Yes.
And they make so many plays on defense that it limits the number of offensive chances opponents get.
It does. I think that, you know, when you're playing against Mountain Brook, you know, the first phase is, can we get it across the timeline?
Right.
You know, they just put so much pressure on you, and then it's, okay, we have to get in our set, and almost every possession it's, okay, how do we deal with Watford? You know, on both ends, offensively or defensively. He's such a game changer, like I said, because he's a 6'9" guy who can play on the perimeter. You know, we don't see a lot of that in the NBA, much less on the high school level.
Well, and when I watch them, and I don't know what you see, but to me, it's 32 minutes of consistent movement all the time.
Yes.
You don't get a break.
There's not a lot of standing around. If you're going to stand around, you're going to go stand over there by Bucky. You're not going to be on the floor. And that is impressive. You know, they do get everybody involved. They play with a lot of emotion. They play with a lot of energy and passion. You you know, and I think that's sort of the template that Bucky wanted to put in at Mountain Brook, but now it just perpetuates itself because the players come through, you know, the elementary school guys and the middle school kids, they see what they do in high school. So it's no secret that the kind of effort that they play with, that's something, it's an expectation. It's not something that they really have to push anymore.
And don't you feel like, too, that just like I was talking with Coach Mike Chase, they should be a force next year?
Yeah, that Spain Park team, look, they do lose Claire Holt, who has been an amazing player the last 2 years, but they have the pieces in place to continue. You know, Sarah Ashley Barker, she's a junior. She's clearly going to be an SEC player, and she really elevated her game over the last year. But their junior class is really good. And again, they played in the championship game 2 years in a row. Just the experience of that, all of a sudden that doesn't, it's not a dream anymore. Now it's an expectation. We know that we can do it. We know, you know, there's no more doubting yourself or doubting your system or can our school do this. You've done it now. I think we all looked at the brackets this year and thought, boy, we're probably going to get to see Hoover and Spain Park in the final again. And you know, the 2017 final that went to overtime was such an amazing game. And then Hoover got upset in the regional final, and that didn't exactly work out. But Hoover had a great season. You know, they were ranked nationally most of the season and seemed to be the team to beat. But they didn't get to the championship game. They didn't even get into the state semifinals. And so just as a fan, you know, you kind of feel deprived. Hey, I wanted to see Spain Park and Hoover play again. But Spain Park can only play who's in front of them, and you know, they knocked down all those dominoes on the way to the championship.
And I think the one story that for all of us maybe ended up in a way that we weren't hoping for, and that was when Coach Bale and his girls were going for 5 in a row.
Yeah, you know,
it just wasn't meant to be. I guess.
That Winona team, as you said, they were going for a 5th straight state championship. That would have tied the state record. They just ran into that at Charles Henderson team with Maury Davenport. If folks haven't seen her play, she's a 6'4" underclassman. I mean, it seems. I mean, she's probably going to be at that UConn, Tennessee, Rutgers level. And so she had a triple-double against them last year in the final, and Charles Henderson came up a little short. Winona just couldn't overcome Charles Henderson this season. But you know, Coach Bell, you see, I mean, he's health-wise he's struggling. You can tell that when you see him. But you know, he's so inspirational to his players. His players love playing for him, and he loves being around them. I think that they inspire one another now. Well,
I tell you what, that's enough to leave us want to see basketball next year, because there's going to be a lot of storylines. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to look at the spring sports, what not only Josh thinks might end up some of those sports this season, but what old Snapper thinks too. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Take your taste to a different place. It's the taste of hamburger heaven. A taste of heaven is always best. Now you know that you're blessed. Give your taste a whole new spin. Bring your friends and come on in. Take your taste to a different place. It's the taste of hamburger heaven.
The community features a world-class resort and spa, the amazing Robert Trent Jones Trail Golf Course, miles of historic trails, and the whole family loves the pool at Ross Park. Oh, are we gonna have to watch your vacation slides all night?
This was supposed to be a party.
Well, this isn't my vacation. I live here.
Ooh.
The next time you need electrical work, whether it be commercial or residential, you need to call Huffman Electrical Contractors. a company that's been in business for over 35 years. They've served clients not only locally in the Birmingham area and all over the state, but have clients outside the state of Alabama as well. Whether it's a new building or remodeling an older building or home, they can handle the job for you. Once again, that's Huffman Electrical Contractors. The number to call is 205-661-5005. That's 205-661-5005. Where at Huffman Electrical Contractors, a satisfied customer is always their #1 objective. And folks, welcome back. And as we continue our conversation with Josh Bean, AL.com, and we covered the basketball in the last segment. This segment, we're going to talk about the spring sports, and in particular what we call the big three, and that's not to minimize any of the other sports, but you got soccer, baseball, and softball that we call the big three. But the other sports, you got golf, boys and girls, and tennis, and then the outdoor track. So it's always a busy time of the year sports-wise because you've got so much activity going on.
Yeah, it is a busy time, and you know, you and I talked about this before we got started. In Alabama, we have these overlapping seasons. Right. So baseball and softball and soccer will begin playing games before basketball is finished. And then, of course, when we get to the end of that spring season, we've got spring football coming around. Most teams now do that either starting at the very end of April or the very beginning of May, right, and run for 2 or 3 weeks. And that's the time that college coaches are able to come see. So it is a very busy time, and you know, it's only a couple of months away where we just finished crowning those basketball champions. A couple of months from now, we'll be doing the same thing with baseball and softball.
Right. Now, as we look at baseball as our first sport, especially in the upper divisions, 5A, 6A, 7A, who do you see as maybe, especially from our part of the state here, as possibly being big players?
Yeah, I mean, I think on the baseball side, you have to start with Hoover. Remember, they won the 7A championship last year. And just like any championship team, you lose some seniors. You expect some underclass guys to step forward. But I think they're 8-1 so far. They've gotten off to a good start. They had a great year last year. You know, remember Peyton Wilson is there. He's an Alabama baseball commit. He chose not to play football last fall. So that's a good place to start. I think Oak Mountain, generally speaking, is very good every year. You know, I think Pelham's off to a pretty good start. So I think that, you know, there's certainly some teams that you look around and you say, hey, those are teams that you feel like are going to be a player.
And Vestavia's always had a
that's
program
right. I mean, you know,
it's pretty competitive.
You know, Vestavia's been very good. Hewitt-Trussville's very good. Right. I think Hewitt-Trussville's off to an 8-2 start.
When I'm talking about Hewitt-Trussville, just for a second, and I don't mean to interrupt you, next year, Hewitt will be back down here in Birmingham.
That's right. So yes, with the realignment for football, they will be back with Hoover and Thompson and Mountain Brook. And in fact, the way that region shakes out, you know, the last region game, I think, for both Hewitt-Trussville and Thompson are against one another. So, you know, by that point in the season, we would expect that there will be some playoff implications in that particular football game. But should be a good, you know, should be some good stuff in that region. You know, Hewitt-Trussville's been 10-0 the last couple of seasons, regular seasons. Add them to that mix with Mountain Brook and Vestavia and Hoover and Thompson. Right. It just makes that region that much more difficult and competitive.
What do you see in 6A?
You know, I think 6A is probably a little bit more wide open than maybe we've seen in the past. The unfortunate part of at this time of the year is I really haven't been able to see any of these teams yet. Right. You know, you feel like there's some teams that are probably going to be a little bit better than some others, but still in the early part of the season, you're trying to figure out how all that's going to shake out. And you know, like I said, every year we've got some teams. I think Chelsea's a team that is off to a pretty good start. I think they probably got a chance to make some noise here.
Don't Homewood and Briarwood have?
Yeah, I think Homewood and Briarwood. You know, Briarwood of course had a really made a strong push last year. I think Briarwood is a team that you know,
Could possibly.
Briarwood spent those couple of seasons in 6A, which in every sport, made it a little more difficult. It just, generally speaking, for most teams, you move up in a classification, it makes it a little bit more difficult. But they're in 5A. That's a team that's probably, you want to keep an eye out. Hueytown's been a team in the last few years that has been very good, made a deep playoff run on multiple occasions. That's always a team that you sort of have to keep an eye on and say, hey, when the playoffs come around, that's the expectation. Now, last year Hewitt-Trussville, it was a surprise when they missed out on the playoffs. But like I said, that's a team that's off to a good start.
And looking at some of those other sports, soccer, when I think soccer here in Birmingham area, for some reason I think Oak Mountain a lot.
Yes, absolutely. That Oak Mountain boys program has distinguished itself as probably the premier program in Alabama. Just a couple of years ago, they finished ranked #1 in the country in a computer poll. And so I think you always start with them. The Vestavia girls, of course, have been very strong for years and years, and that's a team that you have. And we actually have some small school, Altamont,
right.
In soccer particularly. Their boys program has been so strong the last couple of years, and is, I think maybe at least the last 2 or 3 years, maybe my memory's failing me here, they played in the state soccer tournament. So, like you said earlier, in the Birmingham area, most of the time we're talking about 5A, 6A, 7A, because we have so many big schools. But on the soccer side, Altamont, playing in 1A through 3A, one of the smallest schools around, they have really found a way in that soccer program to really shine.
And I know, to touch on the golf and the tennis a little bit, the over-the-mountain teams seem to do well every year.
Yes, generally speaking. When we talk about golf and tennis, it's generally speaking suburban schools, which are the over-the-mountain schools, and private schools. And we've seen that, certainly the Mobile private schools do very well in golf and tennis, UMS Wright, St. Paul's, McGill-Tulane, but the over-the-mountain schools here in Birmingham have done equally as well. Mountain Brook, Vestavia, in particular, our programs, Spain Park's golf program has been very strong lately. I think those are all schools where we expect to see some success out of those spring sports.
Well, once again, Josh, whenever you come by and spend some time with us, we get an overview of just how rich in high school athletics the Birmingham Jefferson County area is.
It really is, and every year, or I guess every season really, you get to the end of that season and the expectation is somebody's going to bring home one of those blue maps. And we see it over and over again, and in the spring sports we definitely see it.
Well, I tell you what, I know you enjoyed the short break you get.
That's
because
right.
There's not many breaks, especially during the school year for you and your business. I guess you're like a lot of us, you like to see the summertime really get here where you do get to
you get a little bit of a break, but
break.
When you get to the springtime, like we mentioned Hoover in 7A baseball, and you've got Helena in 6A baseball that's the defending champ. And so, you've got those teams that you expect to be good, and that makes it exciting because you feel confident that there's going to be a bunch of teams from our area that are going to make a deep run.
Well, Josh, as always, when you come by, I appreciate the visit because I think I appreciate your knowledge and what you do and the love you have for your occupation, and it shows, and whenever we get a chance to talk high school athletics, I always enjoy.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for coming by. Folks, we'll do it again next week. We've had 2 good guests, championship coach, outstanding writer here from Josh Bean, AL.com, and so till we do it again, and hopefully that'll be next week, you know what the snapper always says, bye.